guys, so today I'll be talking about Dr. Naidoo's book, This Is Your Brain on Food, and I'll also be sharing some wonderful insights from our email interview. So for this video, I've broken it down into some small snippets so you guys can either choose specifically what you guys want to hear about, or you can watch the video as a whole. So I've actually written a little mini book review for those of you who are interested in going and purchasing this book, and to persuade those of you who might not know what's in this book just yet. So if I'm looking down, I wanted to share some important facts and knowledge that I personally gained from this book. So that's why I'll just be reading like a little mini summary. So through her personal stories and groundbreaking scientific research and knowledge, Dr. Uma shares facts about how the different foods we eat directly affects our brain chemicals. She also talks about the gut-brain romance, which I definitely think we're hearing more of, especially with how the intake of more probiotic foods, for example, make for a healthy gut microbiome. So that's definitely one piece of her book. But it was also amazing to read how, different foods can actually help regulate these brain chemicals, in turn helping to diminish the presence of mental conditions like anxiety, fatigue, depression, stress, and many more. And at the same time, I also think it's important that Dr. Naidoo really emphasized the fact that you can't eat your way out of feeling depressed or anxious. And that's something she exactly said in her book. But at the same time, these facts still do equip us to pick the right food choices, and that in turn can help our mental well-being, because we're feeding our brains with the nutrients it needs rather than the empty calories, for example, from ultra-processed junk foods. And my favorite part is the recipes at the end of the book. It's like a cute little mini cookbook at the end where, she lists some recipes that we can follow, easy step-by-step recipes, which I believe is so unique and helpful. Most scientific, nonfiction books relating to food and exercise usually just display the facts, right? But there's usually no action plan for people who really want to make those changes and to implement the knowledge that they've just acquired from a book. So this is probably the best cookbook slash scientific book on nutrition and mental health infused into one that you'll find out there. So if you guys are interested, and if you have any questions about the book, feel free to comment down below. But I've also included the link for the book if you guys are interested in purchasing it. Once again, this book is one of my favorite books on nutrition. A lot of the times these nonfiction books, like I mentioned before, they have a lot of facts, right? But when someone asks you, what did you learn from this book? Sometimes you just go blank because, you've just read it for the sake of reading it. And sometimes, we have good intentions of wanting to learn more from these types of books, but sometimes we need that little nudge through action plan, which I think Dr. Naidoo did so well by providing a little cookbook at the end and providing foods throughout the whole book that will help us with the diet choices that we make going forward. So now it's time for the email interview. You guys have no idea how excited I was when I saw the new email pop up in my inbox for her answers to my questions. So shout out to Dr. Naidoo for taking the time. Thank you so much for responding to my questions. And she's shared some amazing insights with us. So please watch this video as a whole. I think you guys will learn some things that you probably haven't heard of before. Yeah, so let's get started with the first question. So I asked her, lots of teenagers right now are eating way more ultra-processed foods. And ultra-processed just means, I think, more processed. When we think of processed foods, that's like bread, rolled oats. And sometimes processed foods can also have health benefits. So that's why I'm going to refer to it as ultra-processed foods. And that's referring to like junk foods like chips, like sugar-loaded energy bars like that, for example. So let me just rephrase the question. So lots of teenagers right now are eating way more ultra-processed and processed foods than they are eating whole foods. So, with our quite busy schedules, the easiest thing to do, I think we can all relate, is to grab what's already available and pre-packaged. And this usually ends up being those sugar-filled energy bars and chips. So I asked her, how can teenagers take control of their nutrition, and what sustainable changes can we slowly start to make in order to switch from eating those ultra processed and processed foods to eating more fresh, whole, tasty meals and snacks. So she said that you know, if we really want to see those changes, we really have to get involved, right? So it's kind of going back to that action plan of, you know, getting involved in order to really, you know, see those changes take place. So she said to start going to the supermarket or the local farmer's market on our own, or with our parents, or we can help with the family food shopping each week. So she said also we can learn to navigate healthy choices when we're also in the supermarket, right? I think a lot of the times we try to buy things that are not necessarily on the list, on our grocery list, or things we had in mind buying. So she says to first walk the outer aisles to find fresh produce, healthy clean proteins, and dairy or non-dairy options. And then she said to use the center aisles for items like nuts, seeds, beans, lentils, legumes, and then going on to the seafood, the canned wild salmon, the canned oysters, canned anchovies. So she said mainly if we can buy those organic brands, you know, that would be the best for us. So and if not, eating a whole food in general is still better than a processed junk food. And also, you know, for those who are eating, you know, on a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, the options that for fiber and nutrients, which are key for your gut health, brain health, and physical health, these can include fermented foods, kimchi, plain kefir, and miso. So if you guys are interested in trying more prebiotic food, in her book, Dr. Uma also provides a large amount of options that people can take into account for their specific diets. So, you know, going back to the fact that, you know, we all, you know, lead busy lives, and I think it's important to, you know, prepare for the week ahead. So a great tip she had was meal prepping. And I can definitely say that meal prepping has helped me when I have made the time for it before. So she said to spend about 1 to 2 hours a week prepping some healthy snacks. For example, I try to meal prep on Sundays if I can, just because during the week I'm so busy with school. So maybe like 1 to 2 hours I would spend exactly like on Sunday, just figuring out what snacks or meals specifically. And I, you know, I tell my mom, you know, so working with others too, you know, she didn't specifically say that, but I think that will help, right? Especially for teenagers, working with your parents, to see, you know, if they can help you meal prep, or if they themselves can prepare foods that you would like to eat, you know, to kind of slowly start making those sustainable changes to a healthier diet, right? So some options she gave for healthier snacks were to cut veggies like celery, radish, Chinese turnips, cucumber, and another one was to portion out 2 ounces of plain natural almonds, walnuts, or hazelnuts just as a regular snack. One other thing she mentioned was to prepare some chia pudding or mini frittatas for make ahead breakfast or healthy snacks. I have never personally tried the chia pudding or the mini frittatas, so I will let you guys know how that goes. But these are like, you know, 3 ways. So the veggies, the cut veggies, you know, portioning out 2 ounces of those seeds, so like, or sorry, those nuts, so almonds, like walnuts or hazelnuts, and then finally, you know, some more exotic kind of breakfast like chia pudding or mini frittatas when you have and if you have the time to make it. So a great way to start experimenting with the snacks you guys like is to order her book. And like I mentioned before, there's many easy recipes. You know, I was never one to be in the kitchen at all, and you know, these steps, these recipes are really easy to follow. They're step by step. They provide you with the specific amounts of the ingredients you need for the meal, and how to specifically make the meal. So it's very detailed, and it's very specific. So you know, one way that you guys can start making those sustainable healthy changes is by ordering her book, which is really eye-opening, and it provides a really great action plan for those of you guys who want to make those healthier diet choices. Okay, so moving on to the next question. I asked her, you know, there are many modifications and antibiotics used in the meat industry today, from farm to fork. And farm to fork just means, you know, from the time those animals or vegetables are farmed to the time that it takes to the plate, to the time that, you know, we start eating it, and how all the processes are done to, you know, bring that food from farm to fork. So I asked her, you know, should, you know, these modifications or antibiotics used in the meat industry be a concern for individuals who eat eggs, chicken, and specifically red meat? Or is a lower nutritional content the only downside, right? So she said that in order for us to eat those, you know, proteins, she said to choose clean proteins. So pasture organic meats, grass-fed beef, wild-caught salmon, cage-free eggs, and other options like non-GMO organic tofu, tempeh. And in general, Dr. Naidoo said that the more organic brands we buy, the better, especially with the meats and seafood, which go through so much processing, and especially the GMO ones are very, you know, filled with antibiotics and chemicals in the way, you know, they're raised to the processing plants, right? So there's a lot of antibiotics and, you know, processing that they go through that may not be as healthy versus picking, you know, organic brand that we should be going with, right? And so my next question was, you've talked before about how there is no one diet or there's no one ideal diet. And for example, a vegan diet may work for one person, but not another, you know, in terms of how they feel overall after eating those different foods. So I asked her, would you say that this still holds true? Or is there any emerging evidence that links optimal physical and brain health to following an all-vegan diet, the Mediterranean diet, or any other specific ideal diet, right? So she said that a meal pattern or a meal plan works for someone based on the uniqueness of their microbiome. So she said to try not to avoid entire food groups unless we have any allergies or intolerances to specific food groups. And she provided some really simple guidelines, you know, to follow a healthier diet and make better food choices. So she said, rather than, you know, counting those calories, she said to pay attention to the portions we eat, right? And to lean into lots of veggies to fill up your plate, lots of nuts and seeds like chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, and many more seeds. And the way we can get healthy fats are from avocados and using vegetable oils like avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil, right? So it's better that we use these vegetable oils, especially when we're cooking, rather than, you know, thick, like greasy butter, like, and margarine, which is really bad if we especially use that over the long term. So, and some other things she said was hydrate with water, have some berries and some other fruits. She talks a lot about how blueberries really help, and I think I've always like heard about this growing up, how blueberries are like basically brain foods, and I think I was so happy to see that she like kind of confirmed that for myself. So I also like personally try to have blueberries in the morning, you know, for breakfast with a bagel or something else I have, like omelet. So she also says to eat clean proteins. You know, like I mentioned before, the source of the protein really matters. So this would again include non-GMO organic tofu, grass-fed beef, pastured lamb, cage-free pastured chicken. And she said if you eat meat, consider ordering meats from regenerative farming sites. And she said also, you know, if you follow a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, you know, to ask your doctor if you need a vitamin B12 supplement, because, you know, when we eat those meats or when we stop eating those meats, we lack the vitamin B12, and that's the only place we get it from. So that's really important that if you plan on making that shift to a plant-based diet, it's really important to talk to your doctor about what other vitamins besides B12 also that you might be lacking if you make that change to a plant-based diet. And my final question was, what are some resources people can access to keep up to date with these brain foods. Of course, you know, you should follow Dr. Naidoo on Instagram, Facebook. She has her own website and blog. You can also follow her on Twitter. And she also said, you know, her call to action surrounding proper nutrition in younger and older adults alike was that our brain is the most important part, an organ. So we really need to pay attention right now. You know, at least for me, I've always thought, you know, I'm young, like it doesn't matter, like, you know, I've always related obesity or bad health to older people, like my parents, or like older generations, right? And I think that's such a myth out there that we need to start changing. So we really need to pay attention right now, you know, whatever age we may be, to the foods we're eating, because it will affect our health long-term and short-term. So she said to generally eat better for your brain health in order to improve your mental fitness, right? Not only your physical fitness, but your mental fitness as well. That's everything, guys. As you guys heard, you know, it's really important that we pay attention right now and we make those sustainable changes. One thing that helped me was sometimes I talk to my mom about, you know, what I'd want to eat beforehand, like 2 days before, so she would have it prepared for myself. And sharing, you know, sharing this knowledge is important to be able to implement it, right? They say knowledge is power, but if you, you know, don't use that knowledge, then it's kind of a waste. And I think a great way, as I mentioned before, I think in my first video as well, is to kind of bring someone along with you on your journey to making those sustainable diet changes, right? That's like really important. And so thank you guys for watching. It's a great pleasure, and you know, hearing from Dr. Naidoo. As you guys heard, like, these are all very valuable insights. You know, it's really important to really see, you know, what like why is the food, why is the processed food, why is the ultra processed food we eat really bad for our health? And you know, that's really going to motivate and drive us to wanting to eat those healthier food choices. So I've linked down below some mental health resources, along with some other informational resources from Dr. Naidoo herself. So she has a website, she has a blog, she has some other episodes you guys can check out talking about the food-mood connection, as well as the gut-brain romance. So thank you guys again. Please, once again, comment down below if you guys have any questions, suggestions, advice, comments, any topics you guys want to hear more about. I would love to, you know, do interviews or do recipes for you guys. So please comment down below. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video.